let's talk about the direction of this podcast.
Why do you look so dramatic?
It is dramatic. It's for dramatic effect.
Hello, everyone.
Hello,
my
from
gosh.
San Diego.
Long time no see. Well, actually, people have been seeing us every week because of the pre-recorded episodes, but this is our first one, technically,
Our first batch of
Yeah.
recordings.
that we're releasing. So by the time you see this will be the first episode you see from San Diego.
Yep.
So that's wild. So we have no furniture. We are sitting on a rug. We don't have a couch. As you can see from my background, if you're on YouTube, we're still living minimally.
Our couch is coming soon. Next week, actually.
Yes.
And I am very much looking forward to that.
Me too.
But anyways, how has San Diego been for you?
That's a great question. Well, first of all, we just want to say this is not our typical kind of episode. We're doing a follow-up to our life update episode, which I was actually really surprised that people wanted to watch and listen to that. I was expecting like very little views and downloads, but it was actually like on the higher end. And not that, we measure ourselves by the numbers, but that's why we're doing this follow-up, because we're like, people actually care and want to know. So, how San Diego has been, because everyone keeps asking us, is it has been really good and really surprising, I would say. Like, exceeded my expectations already so far, in many ways.
Tell us more.
Yeah, I just feel, I think like when we felt God call us here, my head was more like, okay, we're just gonna go and find out. And it still is, in a way, in many ways. It's still like, I don't really know what to expect, because like I don't have expectations, honestly. I'm just here because I felt the peace to move and I felt God's grace in it, and we were aligned, and the most important thing is God. And so like, I think coming here, I've just been consistently and pleasantly surprised by, oh my gosh, God was like paving the way. Like, he knew we would need this, or he knew this would bless us, or he's preparing something. Even as we're talking about this now, there's so much still that we don't know. I mean, in life in general, we only see in part, but it's just cool and I think exciting to adventure with God. And then the more we just like walk with him, the more he reveals things slowly but surely, and it's just like so many surprises along the way. So more concretely, like one example is the week that we moved. Oh my gosh, moving is not for the faint of heart. I will say I'm really proud that we had actually a pretty relatively like good moving process, besides the fact that I underestimated the time needing to pack everything. We started early, which is good, but I think the last day or two I was a little overwhelmed by so many things to pack. But that's besides the point. I feel like, we've heard from people that couples can get into like a lot of disagreements and fighting and like be just really divided during moving. But I generally, in that sense, I felt like we were pretty much on the same page in general, and, toughed it out without a bed for a couple days, and had a transition day where we were technically homeless because our lease here didn't start yet, and we had already left the bay. So I'm just grateful that went well. But anyway, fast forward, the week we moved, it was so interesting because we just stumbled across this like business accelerator, it was called Kingdom Business Accelerator, I guess. And it's like basically a whole room full of Christian entrepreneurs, and not just like for networking purposes, because I don't really like networking.
It's more for relationships and God.
Right. It was just so, I was like, dude, this is like what we need. And it was like so encouraging. When we went, we just met like really cool people. They shared amazing testimonies that encouraged us, that fueled us. It just felt like it was like yes, this is what we needed without even knowing it. And God knew and he prepared it, And we've never heard of anything like this in the Bay. I mean, I'm sure there's things like kind of similar to that, maybe for more like startups and like tech, product companies, but for kind of like
Tech
what we're
product companies. Tech
what
companies do have products.
yeah, but you know
I
what I
get you.
mean? Like I think in the Bay the entrepreneurship culture in general is much more like product based and like you're building things with engineers and things, but um for what we're doing and the kind of the things that we're pursuing and build and feel called to build, we just haven't really found people who kind of understand that and will champion it and also can relate. And so we've had many instances now. We've only been here about 3 weeks, a little over 3 weeks. But we've had many encounters now of people being like really excited about what we're doing and like they're also entrepreneurs and they also own their own business and then in that room, it was so cool to just hear people who've been decades doing business for God and, enmeshing their faith and mission and business and entrepreneurship, all of it together, just being like, wow, this is so cool, so supportive. And I would say another thing that I was pleasantly surprised by is how big of a difference the weather is because I don't know, I just assumed it's California. Weather is like pretty much the same everywhere, but it's pretty different in general. Not today. Today is a little rainy.
It's rainy.
And also the week we moved, it was rainy, stormy. There is a tornado apparently somewhere in Coronado. So that was unusual per the residents here. But yeah, I've just been like I turned to Alex the other day, like maybe like a week or two in, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for tomorrow because it's gonna be a great day. Like just the way the weather affects me and just my mood and how excited I am to wake up in the mornings. I used to never my whole life I've been a night owl. And now I think Alex is still getting used to me being
A morning
a
person.
morning person because I look forward to waking up, doing our new morning routine. Do you want to talk about our morning routine and what that's been like? Which we did not do this before we moved.
So many of you know I love taking walks, long walks, prayer walks, and now we get to take walks together. I mean, Grace initiated this initiative to walk together around our neighborhood.
Were you surprised?
I was very surprised. Like, wow, Jesus must be coming back soon. This is so rare to see. Our neighborhood is pretty safe, actually, which is awesome. Not that Santa Clara was not safe, but it's just a general feeling.
Yeah, it just basically confirmed to me and has been teaching me the importance of your environment because yeah, you don't need a certain environment to be content and to thrive, but like there is an impact that your environment has on you. And I think I just never realized that until, our neighborhood here, I'm really grateful. Like again, God knew, like when God gave us peace about this place that, oh, we didn't even talk about how we found this place, but that's another testimony we can share some other time. But when he gave us peace about this place, I could already envision us like taking walks around because it's safe and it doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, our car's gonna run over me. Like who's gonna be like who like I don't know, just that psychological safety. And it made me it reminded me and it taught me like the environment you put yourself in or if you change your environment, all of it has an effect on you. And so it's not that you should rely on it as a crutch, but just if you can control things, if you can choose do things intentionally that are not dishonoring God or not, going against his will or hurting other people, but you can tweak things to help you live and implement the kind of life that you want to live, So one example is if you want to eat less sweets, then maybe don't surround yourself with candy. Like maybe like surround yourself with like healthy snacks, which actually we've been doing more.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, I've been asking Alex to get like really good healthy snacks from Costco.
Anyways, to just summarize everything,
Oh wait, you didn't finish our morning routine. I really want to share about our morning routine. I think it's so cute.
yeah, Grace makes breakfast now, and she's really awesome at it. She makes, not we. I barely do anything. if anything. She makes high protein breakfasts. So she makes scrambled eggs with sometimes turkey bacon, sometimes grass fed beef sausage
Or chicken sausage.
or chicken
Or
sausage.
or chicken
And
patties.
my favorite part is the smoothie. She makes a protein smoothie, a green protein smoothie with frozen fruit. It's either berries or pineapples or apples, and
It's
then
actually
protein
mangoes.
powder. Oh, mangoes. I don't know
He
what goes
doesn't
in
he
it.
doesn't even know what goes in. It's
Anyways,
just good.
there's fruit. There's a lot of greens, which I love. Protein powder, Greek yogurt,
Avocado,
avocado,
banana.
banana, almond milk, and blend it all up. And it's just delicious protein goodness. So,
Yeah. And then afterwards we eat breakfast. Sometimes if it's not too cold, we eat on our patio, which is the first time we ever have a patio outdoors. So we eat outside, enjoy the outside weather, or if it's too cold or rainy, we just eat in here in our little picnic in the living room.
mm,
And then we do quiet time with God. And it's been so rich. I mean, like that's just like a little glimpse into it. But I feel like we have such healthy routines. Do you want to talk about the workouts?
I'll even take it a little bit bigger picture
Okay.
for me personally.
Yeah.
I was talking with a friend about this because he was asking me how San Diego was. I felt like so I lived in the Bay Area for 5+ years or so, and as I was processing this, I felt like for the past 5-ish years, I felt like there was an underlying sense of comparison when it came to career and money, and it's definitely a stronghold. Just even growing up and being compared to and all that stuff. But moving here, it seems like people don't focus as much on career.
Mm,
They
I can see
don't
that.
name drop the companies that they work for, and they don't talk as much about work. It's just super, super chill. So for me personally, it's been good. It's been much needed.
Well, I would say it's not super, super chill. For example, people are on time here. They are very on time, which is
Oh,
very surprising. I'm like,
yeah, that is
what?
true.
Every event we go to, everyone's already there at like exactly the dot.
Yeah, that's super
And we're
crazy.
like embarrassed walking in late because we're from the Bay Area. Or not from, but we used to live. But yeah, but I will caveat that and say somebody who maybe is from here could say the same about themselves being triggered by things here and then they go somewhere else.
Mm,
So everyone's different, like how a certain environment or culture affects them is different. So we're not saying at all like the Bay sucks or whatever. It's just the way different environments affect us uniquely. That's been more revealed through this move. So
mm,
I can relate. I think it ties more with like, oh, we're actually getting more support from people about the entrepreneurship stuff, and like, when we say we have a podcast, it's more normalized because other people here also have a podcast, or they also are content creators, or they also,
yeah, there's
so
influencers.
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's really like it's refreshing to be in a place where you're like, oh, these people kind of get me and I'm not alone. And they can like champion my vision that I feel crazy about having sometimes. That they understand and their support. So it makes a difference. So
Yeah, yeah. I love the workout culture here. Workouts here
yes.
are intense. Yesterday we went to a group workout class and there was a pregnant woman working out.
I've never seen that in the Bay, although I know it's supposed to be good for you, but all the classes we go to in the Bay, I've never seen that.
Yeah, my legs are sore. But anyways, that's
It was
besides the point.
intense. Yeah.
I really love the health culture here. There's a lot more available food or healthy food around.
Yeah,
More
definitely.
choices. Um,
Which really aligns with the culture that we are wanting to build as a family for our future kids and generations to come too. So
yeah, yeah.
I feel like in general, sorry to cut you off. I just have to say this before I forget. But I think in general, we've just been sensing alignment. Like when I remember a few days into coming here, I told Alex, there's just something about this place that I didn't expect that I feel alignment in. Like I feel like the values that we get to that are being nourished and cultivated and supported here are the values that I had always envisioned for our future and the person I want to become and the kind of mom I want to be, for our kids, because culture is not taught, it's caught. So like just because you tell your kids to be healthy, if you're not healthy yourself and acting like having an active lifestyle, they're not gonna do it themselves. So like little things like that, I just there's something about when we made that move. It was like maybe it was also a mental transition, spiritual transition, but also again the environment really helps where everything's like much more aligned versus I don't know. There's just something about in our previous season. I was like, oh, I want to be this kind of person, but like it's so hard. Like I can't. There's like a mental barrier. I think part of it is also other people, my perception of other people's perception around me too. Like when you're I mean, even Jesus says like, a prophet is hated in his hometown. And not that people were hating me, but it's like people from your hometown have a perception of you. And so sometimes you can feel boxed into other people's perceptions of you without even knowing it or wanting that to be the case. So I think when we came here, it was like, I don't have to be anyone. Like no one's expecting me to be a certain version of myself here. I can like literally go for it and do the things that I've wanted to do and embody the values I want to embody. And it doesn't hurt that the culture around here also cares about those values too.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
What were you going to say before this?
I completely forgot.
Sorry.
Anyways, it's been good. It's only been about 3 months or so, 3 weeks or so. So it hasn't been too long. We've been checking out churches, small groups, taking classes.
Yes.
Just kind of meeting people, being open-minded, open-hearted. What, open-hearted? Is that a word?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, open-hearted. I don't even know what
Why
that
do you
means
look
now.
confused? He looks uncomfortable.
Anyways, I'm opening up my heart to people. But
and,
yeah,
and to God.
And to God. It's been good. But
Amen.
with any transitions, it's definitely not perfect. I don't want to say that everything is paradise here. But just with transitions, there's obviously things that surface up between our relationship. There's we don't have like consistent friendships here, for example, so we don't have like go-to people. So everything that just comes with transitions is normal in our scenario.
And I think it helps that we have made this transition separately before many times or multiple times. So it's like you go into it now expecting, okay, there's going to be an awkward little season, of not really knowing where you should put yourself or who your people are yet. And it's unrealistic to expect that to happen right away. So I think that helps. And the other part is this is our first move that we've made together as a married couple. So it helps that we have each other to like encourage each other and pray for each other and spend time together and still implement these like healthy routines now instead of like waiting down the road of like, oh, how can I do it later? Because I remember when we left our gym in the Bay, our trainer, shout out to Mono, he's awesome. He was like, well, how did he say it? He was like, make sure to find a gym right away or something like that. He was like, don't let yourself fall off the wagon basically because it's hard to pick it back up again. So that's what we did. The first week we were here, we were like checking out different workout places, implementing our new healthy routines. And I think one other thing, you mentioned classes, and I will say, wow, that has been such a blessing because I don't know, it's not really part of like the culture, at least in most churches, I think in the Bay, to have like classes. Or at least we never came across it. But the first week we were here, we just stumbled across like classes to like learn about God and learn about faith and growing more in faith. And it happened to be that week was the first week of these like, how many weeks? Like 5, 6, 5 or 6 week classes. So we were like, oh my gosh, we made it just in time. So we signed up for this class called Friendship and Presence, which is basically learning how to be friends with God and how to like hear his voice, how to spend time with him more and how to like commune with him, which are all things that I think on the surface we know in general about, but there's always more to learn. And I feel like that has been one of the biggest blessings for me personally, because I know that these things that I'm learning, that we're learning in that class, it's not just like, oh, that's nice to know for in your head. It literally changes your life because it changes your relationship. It grows your relationship with God. It makes it more alive, and you yeah, I mean it's just priceless. Like learning to hear God's voice and learning to be aware of his presence
Yeah, I've been
constantly.
definitely putting it into practice more.
Yeah, do you want to talk about how? Like what does that look like?
Well, growing like I mean, my first experience of we'll get to the main topic of this podcast, but for me, I my first exposure to just faith was in a Southern Baptist church, pretty big one. Nothing wrong with Southern Baptist. I'm not saying. I'm trying to frame it into context here. We didn't talk so much about hearing the voice of God or a relationship with God, in the sense of like an ongoing daily relationship with God, not like salvation relationship with God. But
Like personally talking and conversing with him.
yeah, like I didn't really believe that I could hear God at the time, that in my early years of faith. So now, as I'm getting more exposed to this and leaning more into the Holy Spirit, I've been putting into practice hearing from God and believing that I can hear God and He wants to meet me where I'm at. So it's good. Like I've been even putting into practice, like, okay, God, what do you want me to focus on today? What like just encourage me today, or what do you want to speak to me about, whether it's doing something or just correction or encouragement, or give me images. I'm learning to draw actually in my journal. Usually I write, but now in the past couple days I've been drawing a bit more, like, God, give me an image or something. So I actually used to draw a lot when I was a child, but I just converted to just writing and numbers and math. So now I'm pulling out my artistic side, and yeah, it's super awesome. So
That's a good tip for anyone who, you feel like, oh, I'm kind of my times with God, like I want to like switch it up, spice it up a bit. Like I feel like drawing and doodling because it activates a different side of your brain that words can't. So that's a good actually like small tidbit for anyone who wants to try that.
yeah,
But yeah, I think like just to jump off of that, or jump off, just to, is that how you say it?
yeah.
Okay, just to jump off of, that sounds weird, but
We
we're
adopt all these business terms in the
yeah,
corporate
just
world,
to
and we don't
jump
know what it
off of
means.
that.
Let's circle back to that. Let's
Also, we're still trying to like get our podcasting skills back. It's been a long time since we recorded. But anyway, I just to be real, like I feel like for some reason the past several years I kind of forgot how to have that close daily constant conversing relationship with God because I remember I used to do it all the time. Like when I was at Google, it was like effortless for me to like talk to God and be like, God, where are you? Like, what are you saying right now? Like, what do you want me to do? Who do you want me to bless? How can I partner with you? Like I was like constantly talking to God all the time and listening. Um, and I don't know, just like along the way, I mean, it's not that I stopped believing in God or I didn't grow my faith because I did keep growing in faith in many ways and as a person, but it's just that one aspect. I think this class that we've been taking has like kind of revived again and reminded me like
mm,
you are much closer to God than you think, and you can tell him everything. You can hear him more than you believe. And we're actually talking to the person who is leading that class to come onto this podcast because I was telling her I feel like so many Christians don't even know they can hear God this way. And she totally agreed. She was like, yes, so many Christians, they think that they're powerless, they think that they're alone, they feel stuck, they feel confused when we are literally made to hear God's voice. Like Jesus says, my sheep hear my voice. They know my voice. Like the sheep doesn't have to be taught like, oh, here are the 3 steps to listening to your shepherd's voice. Like the sheep just naturally it's ingrained in them. And so that's just like a little teaser and encouragement, but also just something that I've been encouraged by has been, oh my gosh, God, you're everywhere. You're like with me all the time. And if I'm going through something I don't know how to deal with, or I have questions, or I'm wrestling with it, like I can literally talk to you about it right now and just process it with you and ask you to reveal the lies that I'm believing and what truths you want me to replace it with. So that's another podcast episode, but
Anyways, let's
anyway.
circle back to the main
Oh my
topic.
gosh. Triggered. Yes. So we want to talk about new beginnings. So we were talking about new beginnings for us, in San Diego. This has been a new beginning, a new chapter. We're really excited for how God will continue to reveal things to us. But we also want to share a new beginning in terms of the podcast.
Let's talk about the direction of this podcast.
Why do you look so dramatic?
It is dramatic. It's for dramatic effect.
Okay. This is something you should know about Alex. If you haven't noticed, he likes to make things dramatic. He creates suspense and leaves you hanging. He'll do clickbaity. He'll say clickbaity things sometimes, and you're like, "What are you? This is so random." Anyway, I wonder what people are thinking right now before we share the reveal of the podcast.
Maybe we should pause for a bit. And then
what do you think they're thinking? They're probably like, "Oh my gosh, are they not going to podcast anymore? Are they going to start podcasting about non-Christian stuff?" I don't know. I don't know what you guys are thinking. We're not overhauling the podcast. It's actually the DNA, the core values, everything is very similar. But okay, I'll just give a little backstory. So the past year, it hasn't even been a full year yet, but we launched last April this podcast. And really, we're just experimenting. We're just trying different things. If you haven't noticed our previous few episodes, we're doing different kinds of interview styles, different kinds of lengths and just formats. We're just trying different things to see what resonates with people and what people want to see more of. So, please give us your feedback because we actually listen to your feedback and we want to know what you find valuable and helpful to you. But yeah, we just felt like, okay, we've been doing this for about a year. We also feel called, God's just been leading us to cast a broader vision into the next phase of our business and merging the podcast, merging the coaching, merging the things that are on our hearts that God has placed on our hearts and also given us the passion to help people with. I know it's very vague, but
wow, you thought I was a cliffhanger person?
Yes. Fair point. But yeah. So anyway, with all that said, we felt like go for it.
We're leaving our audience hanging here. Okay.
We're not very good at this announcement.
So what will stay the same is we actually love unpacking nuanced stuff.
We love it.
According to faith. So we are still Christians. Just to let you know.
Oh my gosh. Oh, how sad would it be if this is one of those videos or episodes of I'm no longer Christian. Those videos. It's so sad. But anyway, that's not us.
That's not us. I
love
don't even want to think. Well,
Jesus is more real to us than he's ever been.
I mean, we talked about Jesus before this.
Yeah.
So, anyways, to get to the point. Oh man, long story long. The things that we are still unpacking nuanced things with faith. We just love that stuff, and we ourselves love talking about the nuances of just stuff that's not really discussed on a Sunday service. And so that's gonna remain the same. The style and everything is gonna be the same, like casual living room style, derpy, organic, casual. Did I say casual already?
Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, so that's gonna be the same. Derpiness. The only thing that's focused a bit more is we're gonna have a deeper focus on emotional, mental, spiritual health, holistic health in the context of work. And it could be corporate work, it could be stay at home parent work, just work in general. Yeah. So we want to dive into the nuances of that and how it all connects together.
Right. So if you didn't know already, Alex and I have been long-time passionate learners about faith and work. So that's fun fact. That's actually how we met. was because I mentioned a really brief comment on a Facebook group that I am passionate about the intersection of faith and work. It's really interesting to me. And Alex commented on that post being like, "Oh my gosh, I like that too," and so we started talking a little bit about it. I kind of like friend zoned him a bit because I was like, this isn't going to go anywhere. So I stopped replying on the comments.
And I was like, I ain't gonna be friend zoned.
then he slid into the DMs. And the topic was again about faith and work. He mentioned something about like, oh, I think you actually talked about like my interview of like Jeremy Lin at Google, and you're like, oh my gosh, I saw, you interviewed him, and something you said a very encouraging word, and then and then again I was like one word like, oh thanks, haha, and then I like just ended it there. I was just so guarded and like, I didn't think it would go anywhere, but especially because we were on opposite sides of the world. But you followed up asking me, probing even deeper, like, so what is it like to be a Christian at Google, and like, how do you live that out? How do you live out your faith at work? And those were the strings. That was the key to my heart because
Oh wow, really?
I love talking about faith and work. It's like, you can't shut me up. so I was like, oh,
Truly.
dang, he asked me a question that I actually care about. So then I responded, and the rest is history. So with all that said, we just love this topic of like, first of all, how do you be like a full and free self? Like, how do you live your life fully and freely and authentically? How do you heal from the wounds emotionally, spiritually, mentally that we all subconsciously carry unless we actually are intentional about healing and doing the work with God's help, but especially in the context of work. And why this matters is because God literally tells us to go and make disciples of all nations. He doesn't tell us you have to become a missionary in Africa to do this. Like, he wants all of us to be missionaries wherever we are. And most of us, no matter what your life looks like right now, most of us do some sort of work during the day, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or you work at the front desk or you're an engineer or whatever you're doing. Like, we all do some sort of work. And the thing is, I mean, we talk about this, I think, in episode 2 and 3 of our podcast. Your work is not all there is to it. Like, your job is not your actual job. Like, the real job description God assigns to you is to make disciples, to love God, love others, in combination with like, that is what will allow you to make disciples. And so many believers don't know, like, how do I do that in a work setting? How do I do that? How do I bring my full self to work in the first place, let alone make disciples, like share my faith, love people the way Jesus loves when they're being super difficult, when my manager is crazy, when my performance review is stressing me out. There are just so many things in the workplace that people struggle with. On top of the work itself of like, I'm stressed, I have too much on my plate, I'm working late nights, I'm working on weekends, and people are not noticing me, and I feel like I can't speak up in meetings. There's just the list goes on. I'm probably like triggering someone right now by all these relatable pain points, but we've been through so much of that ourselves. We both used to work in tech. I used to work in tech.
Well, at the time of this recording, I still work in tech.
Yes.
But that is changing.
Soon to be
next
a
week.
transition. Pray for Alex.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Grace is very passionate about this, and she can get very fiery about this topic.
It's already starting.
For me, I love learning and talking about the mental / emotional / spiritual holistic health aspects of it. So some general topics that we'll be unpacking a little bit more are kind of like the pain points that a lot of people are facing, and a lot of themes that my clients have faced as well, such as imposter syndrome, feeling like, am I really the right person for this job? Or you feel perpetually overwhelmed and stressed at work. How do I make time for other things? How do I make time for other relationships when I just feel perpetually overwhelmed and stressed? Some people, it's they're feeling apathetic at work. Like, I feel a little maybe bored, maybe purposeless. How do I manage that tension? Like, I feel like there's more, but I feel like God's placed me here, but there's just so much ambiguity. There's gray areas here. So those are just some of the very big picture topics, and I'm sure there's going to be more that's coming up, but just want to give you like a sampler of what we're going to be talking about and some stuff that's going to come out.
Yes. And we want to make it clear, we want to give our listeners, that's you listening right now, what would be valuable to you. So please let us know. Like, go on the YouTube comments of this episode. Please tell us, what do you want to hear? Like, what topics do you struggle with when it comes to work? What areas are most challenging to you? What questions do you have about navigating work struggles and challenges through a faith lens? And it would be even more helpful if you actually like gave us more specifics about your situation, because sometimes, like, you know, it's hard to give advice if it's like really broad. But we're not saying we're perfect or we're experts and we know everything, but we are very passionate about this. So we've read so many books, taken so many courses, listened to so many podcasts and interviews and all the things.
Got a lot of therapy ourselves.
Yes, done all the workshops, retreats, and all the things. And we're always still learning about this too. So, but yeah, if you look at our bookshelves, it's like literally like faith, and then like faith in work, faith in business, leadership, you know, prayer, you know, most of it is around all this stuff that we have just talked about. So we're still going to be talking about all the things that are related to real life, but we are just honing in more because we have felt like this is the area that God has uniquely positioned us, because we're both passionate about these things. I know Alex says he's more passionate about the mindset stuff, but I'm also passionate about it too. Okay, I'm just not as well versed because Alex is actually so good at doing the coaching stuff. We'll still be experimenting different things, but just want to give you guys a heads up, and like, not a heads up, but a teaser to be excited about this stuff coming forward. So Alex is like, this is the longest update ever. Okay, so yes, I'm just looking at our notes because we're a little rusty. Okay, so before you guys leave, first of all, make sure you're subscribed. If you haven't yet, subscribe to this podcast. We have so much good stuff coming out that's related to all the mindset stuff, all the mental, emotional, spiritual, holistic health, especially related to work, career, professional development, calling, identity, purpose, mission, all the stuff. But yeah, we want to make sure, if you haven't yet, make sure you go to withthetrans.com/planner, because we have a free resource there for you that it's called the Divine Party Planner. This is one example of like, how do you combine your tasks of your week with faith? How do you make sure God is the one leading your agenda for your week, so that you're not overwhelmed with things that you're not supposed to be carrying, but you're also not just like everywhere. You're like focused and honed in, and you have so much clarity. And I will say, like, ever since we've been intentionally prioritizing each week, my life has changed. That is not an understatement. That's another new habit that we started after San Diego, after we moved here.
Yep.
It's been so helpful. Well, thanks so much for listening. We hope this blessed you and encouraged you just from our own processing and our life update. We are so grateful for your prayers. If you've been praying for us, we know there's been so many people just like, you know, praying for us, thinking of us, wishing us well. The day that we moved, we were so surprised that friends texted us like, oh, have a safe drive down, and like, let us know when you're there and stuff. And we're like, oh my gosh, people are so sweet. So if that's you, you know who you are. We love you guys. We're so grateful for you and so excited for all that God holds in the future, both for us, but also for you guys through the things that He's called us to do. So
awesome.
See you next time. Yes. See you guys next week.